I just bought the book Bushcraft by Mors Kochanski, and I decided that instead of just putting it on the shelf, I would read it and try to practice the skills inside. In order to motivate myself to do so, I'm starting a little outdoors book club on my channel. The purpose of these videos is to share information, practice. I'm hoping to learn a lot in the process, and hopefully you will too. One other thing, I'm not an expert. If I was an expert, I wouldn't need to buy a book. You'll get to see what an average guy from Iowa does trying to practice these skills. You don't have to be a Superman to go outside. Welcome to episode 4. Today I'm going to talk about the twig bundle fire. And the first thing I'm doing here is I've gone to a pine tree and I'm just trying to get some of these dry twigs that I can just break off really easily. And once I get a big bundle of those, I'll show you the next step. It's best to try to find these on the lee of the tree according to the book, and that's kind of where I am. If I get more into this area a little bit over here, it'll be even better because that's where it's protected from our prevailing winds here. I've got a good sized bundle of sticks gathered, varying at the thick end from pencil size all the way down into matchstick size at the distal end. And I was going to go try to find some bark to harvest for a binding, but I see a deer already did the work for me. I've got this piece and a split has already started. I'm just going to finish this split so that I have two little bindings. So now you just notice that I've got all of the sticks with the thicker butt end pointing the same way, more or less lined up. I'm going to take this piece of bark that I harvested earlier and just kind of wrap it around. This doesn't have to be enough to like tow a barge or anything, it just has to kind of hold it, something like that. One thing he shows is taking this end and bending it over and then tying it, and these are pretty brittle so I don't think it's going to bend. And then he shows a method where you actually break it and put them together. So I'm just going to see if it'll bend. If not, then it'll break. So now I've got a bigger bundle, and I'm just going to use my other piece of bark here to tie that. And so here's the finished bundle. That's the end where the sticks were broken. Now for this next part, I'm going to have to make sure you know that I'm kind of making this up as I go along. The book isn't really 100% clear on some of this stuff, and I don't know Mors Kochanski. I've never met him, so I kind of have to just go by what I'm reading in the book and what I'm interpreting. I think that the purpose of these tinder bundles, or these stick bundles, is so that you can hold these up off of the ground and have control over them. And like if it's windy out, like there's a wind coming from that direction today, I can hold this up and light it instead of being on the ground where moist air and things are. Unfortunately, it's been so wet here lately that I'm just not 100% confident in the ability of this sucker to go with just the plain twigs, because these twigs are wet and they're frozen. I did stuff some dry pine needles in here that were still attached to the branch like he described in the book for coarse tinder. And I'm just going to give this a shot here. We'll see how this works. Shielding it the best I can here. And I'm going to, one of the benefits of this that I can see is I'm able to move this around so that the fire plays where I want it to. Hopefully this won't burn out, make me look stupid. Okay, now I think we're at the point where it's going. I'm just going to hold it here for a second longer, try to get some of this over this way. And now you see I've got this thing and it's just not going to go out even though it's raining. You can wave it around and it'll still burn. I'm doing this in a fire pit because I really don't want to burn down my woods here and get in all kinds of trouble. That's the twig bundle. Again, I was able to take this back into some safer and less windy conditions, and the benefit of having this all tied together like this is I was able to light it up off the ground and control it. I can move this to wherever I need it, so I can light it in shelter and then move it outside. The next thing he describes in the book is taking 10 kind of thumb-sized pieces of wood and throwing it on there, and then a couple wrist-sized pieces of wood, and then supposedly you're good to go, and then you just add bigger stuff as you need to. But I'm not going to do that because I don't really need this fire today. Now see, this is really well established and no amount of wind is going to put that out. In fact, it's going to make it stronger. You could even use it as a torch if you wanted to, I suppose. It'd be kind of dangerous unless it were snow cover. But it's raining right now, or misting anyway, and we were able to get this going with a match. That's pretty neat little concept.